The Finding Purpose podcast is proudly brought to you by Relive the Moments, founded by visionary entrepreneur John Lim. We live in a world where it's easy to capture memories, but Relive the Moments makes it effortless to re-experience and share them. From NFC-enabled tap coasters and photo frames to interactive video cards, Relive the Moments turns everyday objects into unforgettable tap-to-experience keepsakes. Imagine gifting a wedding guest a coaster that instantly opens your highlight reel, or giving your event sponsors a custom frame that tells your story with just one tap. Whether you're celebrating a milestone, planning a wedding, honoring a legacy, or elevating a brand experience, Relive the Moments is the bridge between the past and present, between memory and connection. It's not just a product, it's an experience. Visit www.relivethemoments.com and use promo code PURPOSE for 25% off your first order. Let's bring your memories to life, one tap at a time.
Hey everyone, welcome to the Finding Purpose podcast. I'm your host, Adam Vora, and I'm so grateful to have you here. This podcast is all about exploring the journeys of incredible individuals, people who have faced adversity, found their purpose, and are now making an impact in their communities. But it's also about my journey. Over the years, I've faced my own obstacles, moments of doubt, and struggles with identity. Through it all, I found my purpose in giving back, creating a space where people can detach from the negative emotions and stigmas they may associate with their own stories, just like I did with mine. Here, we have real conversations about growth, resilience, and transformation. Whether you're searching for direction, striving for personal development, or simply looking for a place to feel seen and understood, this is for you. So if these conversations resonate with you, don't forget to subscribe, leave a review, and connect with us on social media. Now let's dive into today's episode.
What's going on, everyone? Welcome back to the Finding Purpose podcast. I'm Adam, and I appreciate you being here. Whether you're listening on Apple Podcasts or watching on the official YouTube channel of the Finding Purpose podcast, thank you for your continued support. And if you haven't already, please subscribe, leave a review, and share. It helps this community keep growing. Last week's episode with Michael Ferraro focused on discipline and consistency at a high level. Today's guest brings the same mindset into movement, leadership, and community. Elsie Rivera is a movement-driven community builder and martial artist rooted in the Westchester and New York, Connecticut area. She believes connection is created by showing up with intention, consistency, and care, and she's passionate about creating spaces where people feel supported and energized. A runner and second-degree black belt, Elsie approaches movement as a tool for mindfulness, confidence, and collective growth. With a background in sports management, she blends discipline with leadership, using movement to bring people together. At her core, Elsie believes that when people move together, they grow together. Let's get into it. Elsie, I think that's the one time I was the nicest to you ever since we've met.
What an intro.
Yeah.
Oh my God. Hearing that about myself, I'm like, excuse me. I didn't know that.
Yeah. No, but
It sounds good.
Well, that's what you sent me. No, I'm just kidding.
No, it is.
But seeing what you're doing now, that it totally embodies like what you've been doing. And just to provide everybody with like a little background of how I know Elsie, me and Elsie used to work together at Equinox, and we were on the same sales team, and we didn't really like each other back then. And it's funny because, I attribute it to us being very similar.
Yeah.
In the way that we are.
Yeah.
We're both Tauruses. Her birthday's the 17th. Mine's the 13th.
Wrong.
16th.
23rd.
Your
Are you going
birthday's-
to keep that in there?
Oh, shit. Your birthday's the
horrible.
23rd?
Yeah.
I think I met someone whose birthday was the 17th.
17th is an Aries. I'm a Taurus. I'm the 23rd. I'm like literally.
You're the 23rd?
Yeah, of April.
Oh, shit. Who's the 17th?
Well, for what it's worth, he already said we weren't friends. So
Yeah, well,
like each other.
I just remember we're both Tauruses.
That's good enough, honestly.
Yeah, and that counts.
Yeah, it
Counting.
counts. It counts in my book.
Hell yeah.
Yeah. I don't even know your birthday.
May 13th. May 13th.
Yeah, May 13th. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. I can
But
remember that.
we worked together there, and we really kind of got to reconnect like afterwards. Where I had my inglorious exit, and then you followed shortly thereafter. But I really want to jump into just you, your story. There's a lot that I know about you, but there's also a lot I don't know about you. Okay. So if you can maybe start with that for my audience, and we'll go from there.
Sure. Okay. My name is Elsie, born and raised in the Bronx, New York. Super proud to be a New Yorker. Very proud to be from the Bronx. I lived there my whole life. In my early 20s, I moved up to Westchester. So let's rewind. In the Bronx, that's where I studied martial arts. I studied martial arts since the age of 14. I'm 33 now. Not that I have a problem saying that, but I'm 33 now. And by the age of 28, I competed on the circuit, was teaching full-time. Full-time meaning I was teaching children from the age of 3 all the way up to adults, self-defense. I've taught women's fitness classes, strength training classes, so a little bit of everything. And then from there, I moved up into Westchester, and that's where I think I became a little more grounded in group fitness. And being in group fitness, I mean, I think like anyone knows, it's just an entire vibe. You go there, you have your core team that's always in the same class with you. You meet different people in different classes. And that's where I also began to work for Lululemon. And that really brought me to the center of what community really is. And I think with my background in martial arts, where we were super driven in community, like my instructor, his wife, his son, his daughter, his 2 sister-in-laws, they were all black belts. So being a black belt was very important, and being a family of black belts was very important to them. So when it came to what community is, they really laid that foundation for families being martial artists, right? Which and then turned me into a black belt, and then also my brother into a black belt. And we all know, if you know me, I do everything around my brother. And from there, I think a mixture of what I had in the Bronx from martial arts and being so community driven, and also what Lululemon brings for me in community. I think those two just went hand in hand. And that's essentially how I became really excited and passionate about community.
Yeah, I love that. And, like I knew a lot of that, obviously from the work that you're doing in the community with Lululemon. And I also knew like what you embrace Westchester as your home community.
Yeah.
I want to talk about that family component because I think that's really important, and because that's something I always really admired about you, the way that you really take care of your little brother. Can you talk about that relationship, how it developed, why also you have taken on the role that you have in his life?
Yeah, sure. Hopefully I don't get emotional while talking about it. So essentially coming from the Bronx, there's obviously statistics that go around that it's like X, Y, and Z, this kind of family, this kind of father, X, Y, and Z. And I just knew from myself growing up, it's funny because my mom always asked me this question, and she's always like, do you ever think like you would be where you are? Or did you ever think you would be this far from where you are? Like, did you ever think of any of that? And I'm like, I grew up in the Bronx. That's all you know. I went to an urban school, which was all fine. But I never thought I was in the right place. Like I always felt, I guess, essentially outcasted, but never felt outcasted. I just felt like that wasn't it. Like it wasn't, I'm not going to say it wasn't enough because it was enough for what it was worth, but it wasn't my final destination. Like that wasn't the end for me. Right. So when I got involved, and I'm probably going to bring it back to martial arts a lot, but when I got into martial arts, my instructor, he gave us a lot of tools and put us in front of a lot of different experiences, from Tony Robbins seminars and all those kind of things. And I think that's what kind of like propelled me into just wanting more, right? And then my brother was born when I was 18 years old. And I knew how I grew up, and I knew my lifestyle, and I know my mom was a single mom, and she struggled like any single mom in the Bronx. And I think that because I seen that for my mom, essentially, I was like, okay, what can I do to help? Right. And I stepped in as not only a caregiver when my brother got older, but also as someone who's going to mentor him to an extent. You know, I think it's very important that boys specifically have a very strategic plan for themselves, whether it's you creating that plan or a coach creating that plan, right? They need a lot of guidance. They need a lot of rules. They need a lot of preparation to keep them moving forward. And with my brother, I think I recognize that. And I know a lot of people who went to college and they took on a sport and they did really well in this sport, but they never made it to the next level. And I think a lot of that, I was like, I don't want that to happen to my brother. So I took on the role of like being responsible specifically for his athletics.
Yeah.
And that's what made me really involved. It's like, I see his potential and I see how much, you know, he has going for himself right now. And I'm like, who is going to be a better advocate for your brother if it's not someone who's family member, especially your sister, right?
Yeah.
So essentially, that's why I ended up going back to school to study sports management. Eventually, I do want to get my master's in sports law, but I was like, at least I know the foundation for anything that happens when it comes to his athletics, right?
Yeah.
Even if we have to hire a sports manager, I trust myself enough to read over anything that happens for him. And I want him to get the best out of life because I know what life can do for you, you know, and opportunity.
Was there like any specific core memory from your like early upbringing to 18 that when your brother, you know, entered the world when you were 18, that you were like, I want to make sure he doesn't have to experience X, Y, and Z? Or was it more so that you had already adopted that there's more out there for me, that you were like, I'm going to bring him with me?
Wow, that's a really good question. I think it's both.
Yeah.
I think it would be a little bit of both. I mean, I love the way I grew up. Like, I say it all the time. Technically speaking, from, I guess, statistics, we were a poor family. I didn't know a day in my life I was poor at all. And I really thank my mother for that. We don't want to get emotional. But seeing that, I was like, now how do I create a dynamic for my brother to make him get the best out of life, you know? And I think when you think about your experience and you think about everything you could provide, I'm young enough, I'm vibrant enough, I could learn a lot, and I don't mind learning it because it's only going to make me a better person, to help him do better. And if he freaking just like blows it out the freaking park, then he does. And I'm okay with it.
Yeah. It's funny too, because, you know, working next door to you at Equinox, and you would talk about your brother a lot. And I'd be like, wow, this fucking girl, like talking about her brother.
Yeah, I know.
But then like when I saw it in action, you know, and also when you would come in and talk about like some award he got or some accomplishment he got. And I'm like, all right, like this is working, you know? And like, I saw how deeply it meant to you. You alluded to how the martial arts community played a big role in you leveling up your mindset.
Yes.
Let's talk about that, because I think the martial arts world introduces folks to discipline and leadership at a very young age, but also other attributes like humility and grace and self-restraint.
Yeah.
So let's talk about those components and how they shaped you through that martial arts experience.
Yeah. So I hate to bring it back to horoscopes too, but I think being a Taurus, we have a lot of those foundational like attributes.
Yeah.
Like we are leaders. We are very driven. People call us stubborn, but if you give us a good reason to change our mind, we change our mind. We just are stubborn in the right way. Okay. So I think with martial arts, it just intensified that for me. I think that those qualities I've had already because I was already so independent. I was already very driven. It's just martial arts opened up the door for more of it, right? My instructor, again, I mean, it was traditional martial arts, but my instructor was way ahead of his time when it came to a lot of what was going on from the UPWs and all those, podcasts and anything you could possibly think of trying to like really teach us about sales and really teach us about, motion creates emotion and energy and all this stuff that in my head, I guess I was just essentially a sponge. I just listened, I just listened and I respected him so much that up until any point,
You shut him out.
I just like, oh, his name is Joseph Rivera.
Nice.
You guys probably, honestly, I know Omar was on the podcast. Omar's very good friends with him. Yeah, so his name is Joseph Rivera. He owns XL Martial Arts in the Bronx on Bure Avenue under the 6 train. I mean, it's essentially not only martial arts doesn't only create martial artists, we create athletes. And it's very important that I say that because I think it kind of gets lost, right? My brother was a martial artist from the age of 3. He got his black belt at 10. I'm not saying he would have never done football or anything like that, but he is 10 times a better athlete because he did martial arts. I mean, martial arts, you said it, it teaches you focus, discipline, confidence, all these foundational characteristics that you need to maintain in order not to only be a great person, but to essentially to be an athlete. And that doesn't include, those are just the character traits. That doesn't include the actual workout that you do there, right? I mean, at the age of 3, he was sided of the body, shuffling, karaoke footwork. Like he's doing everything. So imagine when you take that and you go, well, let's translate that to another sport. He's now just gonna adapt it so easily, But yeah.
Yeah, no, I love that. Obviously you became accomplished in the martial arts. I think it's funny because you're one of the few guests where like I know a lot about, and I know a lot about like your value set. I also know the type of leader you are, but I also know how much you value education.
Yes.
So I want to talk about that because I was your neighbor while you were in the process of going to school and balancing. I think it was 2 full-time or a full-time job and then another job as well, and then all at the same time making sure that your brother got to his respective commitments. Talk about that grind in education and what obviously sports medicine makes sense with you, or not sports management makes sense with you. But did you always know that you wanted to go into that field?
No. I did not know I wanted to go into that field. I didn't even know it was a field until I started looking it up. But it only made sense because what I was already trying to plan for my brother. So I would like to say this is not my plan, right? My brother expressed, like every single kid expressed, I want to go to the NFL. I want to play D1 football. Like, I want to do this. And I'm like, okay, well, like you're young. I know you're young enough. That door hasn't closed yet, right? Like, let's see what we could do, right? And then at the time, I was looking for a house with my partner, and he was like, let's figure out, like, you should go back to school. He was always encouraging me to go back to school. And there's a lot of things in life that I don't regret. I actually don't believe in really regretting anything because I think people learn from every single mistake they make, and regretting it means you didn't learn something from it. And the only thing I was ever like, I wouldn't say regret, maybe if I was embarrassed or something along those lines, that I never went back to school. And he was very encouraging to tell me to go back to school. So I ended up picking sports management because it aligned well with what Gavin wanted to do when he expressed in the time that he wanted to do it. I said, we need to figure out, I don't know how to get you there to become a D1 athlete or any kind of athlete for that matter at that caliber. How do we get there? Like, I started asking questions and I was like, well, let's start from the beginning then. Let me go to school for it.
Yeah.
And I was like, okay, I guess I'm going to school. And then I ended up having to juggle school, work, and him. And in a lot of people's eyes, that was really hard. I think I had the benefit of doing school online and being a night owl. So doing school online and being a night owl goes hand in hand because I do everything in the evening. So it ended up being relatively easy. And I hate to say it like that, but it did. Obviously, there was challenges. I had teachers that were tough, that were difficult. Some nights I was crying, but it was worth it. And on top of everything, because I remember, obviously, you get into school and it's like you're a quarter of a way done and you're like, I give up. I do not want to do this shit anymore. Like, no way. Everyone has that moment in school. I don't care what anyone says. It's the third semester and you're like, actually, I don't want to do this anymore. And in that moment, and I love that my brother is my anchor, but in that moment, my brother was my number one competition. Because he was the one asking me, what's your GPA this semester? Like, what did you get? What did you do this? Like, he is the one that was on my butt. And I was like, if I quit school now, I'm never going to live this down. He is just going to be in my ear 24/7. So it ended up pushing me. And obviously I, graduated. GPA was very well. But yeah.
Yeah, no, it's cool because that's the one thing that I know about you. Like, once you say you're gonna do something, you're going to do it, no matter how. And for the most part, you're not gonna ask for help, and and that's the one thing that I love about you. But also, it's something that I'm just like, I'm always, there's people who will, right?
Yeah.
I want to talk a little bit about that because I saw you, even in the challenging roles that we were in, right?
Mm-hmm.
And what is that, like, where do you think that comes from?
So to be very clear, it's not that I have a problem asking for help. I have zero problem asking for help. I think I'm really good at maintaining schedule and fixing and adjusting the way I need to in order to make something happen. I've had people tell me, hey, do you think you could do this at this time? And I'm like, let me figure it out. Just give me 10, 15 minutes and I could figure it out. And they're like, okay, no problem. And you move stuff around, you get things working and you figure it out. Right?
Yeah.
But I don't have a problem asking for help specifically. Like, if my mom told me hey, I could pick it up, I'm like, okay, cool, you got that, right? And I also think in general, so acts of service is not part of my love language at all. I actually took the love language test and it scored a 0. So acts of service it doesn't mean anything to me. Because if you're asking to, I'll pick up Gavin today, no problem. In my head, that task, I'm task driven, that task is done and is taken care of, and I don't have to worry about it anymore. I'll say thank you in the moment, but I'm not a person who's just gonna harp on the thank you because for me, it's like, okay, you took that task. It's not an act of service. Like, you just took the task for me. I could now implement another task.
I love that.
I could put another task in. So you took that task, here's another task, now I could get something else done, right? So I think essentially maybe if I don't ask for help, maybe it's because, not that I don't need it, but acts of service is not my love language. And if you want to pick it up, go for it. I don't need to hold on to it, but there's going to be something else on the list. So,
for me, I ask for help in certain avenues, but I don't like asking for help.
Yeah.
And the reason being is because if I ask you for help and you don't do it the way that I think it should be done,
Oh, so you're controlling? No.
I'm gonna. It's not that I'm controlling. It's more about I don't want to resent you later for doing it the wrong way. I
Oh
don't
my
wanna,
God.
Yeah. Like,
That's intense.
I'm gonna keep it real.
Yeah.
I'd rather do it myself because if I do it wrong, then I only have myself to blame.
I mean, that is true.
You know,
That is true.
Don't get me wrong. I outsource a lot of stuff. Like I have an assistant Lara who does like a lot of my editing. I have someone else who does some of my social media. Rachel, sorry, I don't know why I didn't say her name. Rachel, shout out to Rachel. And like I have like people who help me.
Yeah.
But there's certain things that I'm like I need to do this.
Yeah. I guess when you knew me, I was in school. So it was for me, school, Gavin, work. That was my life.
Yeah.
Right. And I guess I could understand the perspective of seeing like, oh, you didn't ask for help, because when it comes to Gavin specifically, I think it's very important for people to be there for kids who are in sports, whether it's a practice, whether it doesn't matter. I remember one time, so I played sports for high school and partially of college. I played softball and volleyball.
Okay.
Yeah. I know I'm short, but
never
I was
said
a
that.
decent volleyball player. Okay.
Okay.
Like decent, like good.
Okay.
So, my mom was a working mom, single mom, so she didn't get to come to a lot of sports games and all that kind of stuff, which was fine. But you don't realize that as a kid that that's important to you, right? And growing up, I was like, the number one thing that is important is that I'm at Gavin's practices and all his games. And I guess the part you seen was my dedication to me being at his practices and games. So it looks like maybe like, oh, I have to pick up Gavin. But for me, it was more, I have to be there for him. Because I remember a time where there was one practice, first practice of the season, no one was there. And practice had literally just started. They probably just did their warm up. And he was leaning on the gate like this, like with his legs up. And he's leaning on the gate. And I see his head down. And like in his face, your kids, right? So in his face, he just looked he looked nervous almost, right? And I remember looking at him and I was like, hey, Gavin. And until he heard me. And then he looked up and then he would look completely relieved. Like,
Someone was there to support him.
Someone was there to support him. And ever since that day, it's just been like, you have to be there because they want you to be there,
Yeah.
So I think maybe that's what you've seen also.
Well, I'm not even talking about it in that sense because that makes sense to me.
Yeah.
Like we were in a challenging role, right? And I was the same way, frankly, in that role where I didn't really want to ask for help.
Yeah.
And I think had I done that, maybe, I could have excelled a little more in certain areas. But I saw you just like very Taurus, like just determined to like get it done,
That's not a bad trait.
It is.
Then it was.
You get what I mean? That situation was bad for both of us. But like, like whatever. But I'm just thinking of that. But like, I also know
Adam's being very kind right now. He could say it. I was not great at sales at Equinox, and I'm gonna say it first so he doesn't have to. But I do realize in that role, there was a lot of things I possibly didn't agree with who I was morally. So.
Fair.
I would say that probably made it difficult, and what you were seeing was also probably that.
Yeah, I saw it not being like probably you're in a work environment that you would thrive in. But the things that you were good at and that I always saw, and this goes back to community, is the community that you built around you, frankly. Like the way that you were able to really connect with members.
Yeah.
People knew who you were, and that's something that I've always connected with you, and I think it is attributed to just obviously the martial arts community and the role that communities have played in shaping who you are also.
Yeah.
And when you move to the role that you are in now, and we talked about this at lunch a week ago or a couple weeks ago. I want to talk about like other communities that shaped you, because I know like obviously you did the martial arts. I know you dabbled with CrossFit, you know, and like you the run clubs that you attend. Talk to me about the value of community in general.
Yeah. So I guess I'm just going to kind of like piggyback a little bit of what you said. When I decide when I come into rooms and people meet me, my number one thing when people meet me is I want them to feel comfortable. I want them to feel like they've known a friend for a long time.
Sorry, that's not how you were like to me.
Well, we know why I wasn't like that to Adam. We both know why.
I'm just playing.
Yeah. I think Adam walked by me like 3 times before he actually said hi to me. Yeah. Yeah.
There's a story behind that.
So,
they kept rotating that office.
Yeah,
I was like, how long is this one going to stay?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. Reasonable,
Yeah.
right? But I mean, I'm like, what's his deal? Geez, I just got here. And then from there, we just kind of.
I was probably also a little intimidated by you because I was like also thinking like, oh, I got this pretty girl next to me. Like, now all these guys are gonna send her all the referrals.
Oh.
Like, you know, so I'm thinking also from like a numbers perspective,
that
all
makes
these dudes are
sense.
gonna go in and send her referrals, and they otherwise would have went to me.
Yeah. I've
So
never thought about it.
That's
like
how
that.
I'm thinking
Holy
also.
Cow.
So I also kind of saw you as a threat, if I'm being completely honest.
Wow, I've actually never thought about it like that. Never. Anyways.
But then when I realized you sucked at sales, I was like, oh, no worries.
Yeah, thanks.
I'm just playing.
So, which was fine. There was other things I'm good at, like, you know, people's energy. And again, I always like people to feel welcoming, right? Like I want someone to meet me and feel like they've known me forever. And I think a lot of what you said of me about, you know, being at the club was people just talk to me. And
dude, they talk to you.
yeah, like, and I used to tell these stories to my mom all the time. I had people come into my office unannounced, drop bombs on me. Bombs, like, I don't even know how deep we could get here, but like wives passing away, this person, like really this person has cancer. And I'm like, oh, okay, thanks for sharing that, you know? But that's my gift, I think. I think my gift is like people feeling comfortable enough and feeling like themselves around me, right?
Yeah. Is that a Taurus trait?
I don't know. Do people do that to you?
People open up to me also. Yeah. In that environment, people would open up to me, but I was very like, I'm working. You know? So they would open up to me and tell me some things. And, you know, I had like some like good relationships there, but not the way they would sit at your chair and I'd be able to see through the window and be like, damn, they've been there for like 45 minutes, you know?
Yeah.
And sometimes I'd walk by and you'd be like, and you'd have this look on your face. And like, I was like, should I rescue her? Or like, no,
like,
you know,
90% of the time you should.
It looks like she's soaking that one in. I'm just going to like walk by her. But you're right. You do have that appeal, you know, because there are things that I've told you, like, you know, and vented to you and confided in you as well.
And I would like to think I'm a decently trustworthy person. Like even if I'm not someone that likes you anymore, if we like disconnect as friends, I'm not the person to be like, this person, like I would never do that. And I think that just has to do with the loyalty and who I am. You know, because a lot of people would, you know, put secrets out there or whatever the case may be. And now you're nervous. You're like, oh, I'm not friends with this person anymore. They're going to tell the whole world. And it's like, no, that's not what relationships are. That's not what friendships are. Like, we have to care about one another. Yeah. Essentially. And going back to community and what it is, essentially, is just caring about each other, right?
Yeah.
Everyone has the same mind. Everyone's there to have fun. They all like the same thing in that moment. A lot of the run clubs that I've, you know, been blessed to be around, they're all extremely welcoming. And I would like to say that I went to these run clubs and I didn't know no one. Like, I didn't know anyone. Mm-hmm. So I was going as someone who was solo, just learning the community essentially, and seeing how they're doing everything. And you make friends and you get to meet new people and everyone's story is different. And of course, I just said everyone tells me their story. So it's just exciting. You know, everyone has the same visions, same goals, usually in the the running community, meaning the next race, the next half marathon, the next marathon. So a lot of these people are driven, they are focused, right? And I think when you find people who have that commonality with you, you just can't help but gravitate towards it, right? And people who seamlessly understand it. When it comes to, being at Lululemon and creating that experience for people, it's funny because what I said before was I like people to feel comfortable around me, and I want the community to feel comfortable in our store. That's the same exact vibration I want, not only for me, but for the store, for the community. I want everyone to feel like, oh, this Lululemon is a safe space for runners, for lifters, for the community of fitness.
Quick break to shout out our sponsor, Relive the Moments. Founded by John Lim, they're redefining how we share memories. From tap-to-play photo frames to interactive coasters, they turn ordinary objects into powerful, shareable experiences. Perfect for weddings, events, or milestone moments. Relive, reconnect, reimagine. Check them out at www.relivethemoments.com. Now back to the show. All right, so I love what you were talking about in regards to the community and being a community builder, and you're right, because I think there is a need for communities like that where people feel connected. And it's funny though, because these communities that you're talking about, like Run Club, right? You have this one thing in common: you all like to run, but then you get to know each other and realize how different you are and where you've come from. And hey, I like this, but you may not like this, but we can unite over running. One of the things that I find fascinating about you and how you're just really good at community building, I also know you to be very guarded as to who you also let in.
100%.
And I think it's something that I deeply respected about you, but also I think there was a period of time where I was also like, why won't you let me in? I'm not good enough? Or no, I'm serious. Where it's I'm not good enough, or she doesn't trust me, or,
Yeah.
And I think for me, I was a little hurt. And then there were times when you would.
Oh my God, what a therapy session we're having
here. But I want to dig into that.
I love this. This is good.
Because now we have a different type of relationship, and I like where we're at in our friendship now.
Yeah.
So talk to me a little bit about that.
About my...
how you're very... I don't want to say cautious, but you're very selective as to who you let in.
Yeah, no, that's a good word. Cautious is a good word. Yeah, I think it's important that we are careful who we let in our communities, right? You can have one bad apple and that person, and I'm not calling you a bad apple at all, I'm just speaking in general, that person could essentially, create other bad apples, right? There's an Instagram video that goes around all the time that they put an orange that was rotten next to another orange, and all of a sudden those oranges are now, dying and rotten. And I think it's similar to people, right? I would like to believe that I'm a very positive person, though I'm guarded. I'm a very positive person. I'm a very open person, and I have to protect that for myself. And I think the only way to do that is to be very cautious on who I let around me. And when I think about the things that I'm doing, because anything that I'm doing, I could not be friends with somebody and not like someone is in essence, right? But if they're doing something positive and they're influencing in a way that I agree with, I have no problem putting their names in the right rooms. You should check this person out. To me, that is so important, because maybe we don't get along, but you're going to get along with someone, who's going to take you to the next level. And I'm not one person to decide. I'm not God. I'm not there to decide who makes that decision, right? If I'm I actually know somebody who does that, let me forward you that information. And I do that, but it is important to be that type of person, because though I may not be friends with that person and I don't agree with, whatever, right? Or we just don't get along. Some personalities simply don't get along, right? I think when I think about that, I'm all right, we don't get along, but look what they're doing for the community. Look how much they're pushing forward. Look how hard they're working. You can't knock hard work. I'm sorry. You cannot belittle hard work. Hard work is hard work. It doesn't matter which way you look at it. And if that means putting someone's name in the next room for the benefit of them, then I'll put your name in that room. No problem.
Yeah, no, I love that. And, I agree with you in that sense. And, for me, I think that's also, like a protecting your peace kind of thing.
Yeah, maybe.
And, really, like I've learned that over the past year where I was very much like a quantity person. And it's like, oh, how many hands can I shake? B, like, because you're of a certain status, I wanted to get close to you.
Yeah.
And, I would.
Which is important, though.
It
right?
is important.
That is important. It's just you have to recognize the value that person has there and kind of just like either you're going to decide it's a business relationship or you're going to decide it's someone who's a friendship relationship.
Yeah.
And you can be both, but you don't want to blur any lines when it comes to your energy.
Agreed.
Right? Like energy is very important.
Energy is super important, and also like understanding when your energies are totally conflicting.
Yes.
And I've had the conversation with Claudio like just a couple of weeks ago, where it's like, to a certain extent, some of the things that I committed myself to last year was like a little bit clout chasey.
Yeah.
Right.
Okay.
And now it's like once
purpose driven.
Yeah, they weren't purpose driven.
Yeah.
I thought they were purpose driven because I was always like, oh, I like being affiliated with this like event or this brand would further propel my brand. But really what it did was I worked and the ROI wasn't there at the end.
Yeah.
And not even the short-term ROI, but any long-term ROI.
Yeah.
And now it's like also it didn't make me feel good.
Mm-hmm.
I wasn't enjoying myself.
Of course you were.
And
that's
I think
not surprising.
that's super important.
Yeah.
And one of the things that I've shared with Claudio and like a lot of the people in like my inner circle is really prioritizing things that align well with my purpose, align well with the brand and the image and the feeling that I want people to associate with me, my work, and the brand.
Yeah.
And I think that's really important. I think you do a really good job of that in the role you are with Lululemon. But in general, when it comes to the communities that you're a part of are always positive. They're always promoting movement and they are pushing people to be a better version of themselves.
Yes, 100%.
And I think that's a nice segue into really talking about the importance of movement and the role that it's played in your life. And obviously we talked about the martial arts, and you continue to move. You continue to try all different sorts of avenues.
Yeah.
And like I see you running, I see you doing your workouts.
High Rocks,
the High Rocks competitions, which are like ridiculous. My boy, he did it, and I didn't realize that's what it entails.
Yeah, it's hot stuff right now.
Talk about that. We can talk about the High Rocks, because I think I think there's probably some people here who listen who are thinking about potentially making that a 2026 goal.
Yeah.
Talk about that journey.
Yeah. So, I think last year was my first High Rocks. 2024 is when it kind of got on the map for me. Like prior to that, I seen it towards the end of the year of 2021, and I was like, oh, what is this kind of thing? And I didn't know what it was. And then 2024 happened, and I'm like, oh, they had one in New York. Like, really, what is this? And I'm like, you know what? If it's a fitness competition, like, should be fun. Let me try it. Like, I know I'm strong enough. And the beginning of 2025, shout out to AJ. AJ runs out of Catalyst, a High Rocks, essentially a High Rocks class, and it prepares you for any of the High Rocks competitions coming up, right? And I sent him a message. I believe I sent him a message on Instagram, or maybe it was a text. I don't remember. Irrelevant. But it was like, hey, like, I think I'm going to try your class. And he was like, yeah, by the way, AJ's our ambassador for Lululemon at the Greenwich store. And I was like, hey, I think I'm going to try your class. And he goes, okay, sure. Like, come by. And I'm like, awesome. Sounds good. First class, addicted. I was like, this is so much fun. And when I tell you you're put through hell, you're actually put through hell. Like, you're running, ski erging, pushing sleds. And at the time, he was like, oh, do you have a partner for High Rocks? And I was like, no, I didn't even know, like, I needed one. And he's like, okay, well, you should get a partner. I was like, all right, find me a partner and I'll do it. Like, no problem. So he ended up finding me a guy, which would be mixed doubles. And the weight there, I mean, is insane for someone my height. But it's possible because people do it, right? And we completed our first High Rocks in 2025.
I just want to interrupt you. I want you to, because a lot of people don't know what a High Rocks is, exactly what each element. I know it's like the wall walls, the sled, like break down what a High Rocks is.
Hopefully I don't miss anything.
So that people understand like how like difficult it is, how much work that went into it.
Yeah, so we have a 1,000-meter ski erg, and not in this order. I can't say it in order. You got me there, but I'm trying to remember from races. So you have a 800-meter run, I believe, or 1,000-meter run. You have, and in between each of these drills, you have the same level of run. Okay, so you have a ski erg, you have a row, you have lunges with a sandbag, farmer carries, sled push, sled pulls, and 100 wall balls.
Wild.
Yeah. So 1,000-meter row, 1,000-meter sled, 1,000-meter ski erg. The sled push and the sled pull varies on weight depending on where you are, whether you're open female all the way up to men's doubles. All of that changes. So the weight is different for everyone. And then specific amount of meters for the lunges. Oh, and then burpee broad jumps. Hell. So I would like to say that I used to think I was someone who's good at burpees, and I love them. And then you add all those things on top of each other, plus a run, and then you have to do another burpee broad jump. Oh my God, my heart was coming out of my chest the first time I did this in New York. And I was like, when I tell you, devastated, because I really harped on the fact that I was really good at burpee broad jumps. And not that I did terrible, but I did less than I did worse than I expected. Yeah. I, set the bar high for myself on that. But in that same year, I believe it was 2025. Yeah. In that same year. So I did the New York in May, and I believe it was either October or November. It was the Boston
one, right?
Yeah.
My boy was at that one.
So Boston, I actually wasn't going to go. And the same coach, AJ, was like, hey, someone dropped out of High Rocks in a mixed doubles. Do you want to join it? And I was like, F it, why not? Yeah, let me do it. Like, that's not going to hurt. Like, now I have no expectations because I know I've been training for it, and I've been running because I did 2 half marathons. So I'm not worried about the fitness part so much. I've been in his classes. I feel strong. I work out on my own. I have a basement gym. Like, I'm good. But then you really can't say how good you are because you have a teammate now that you've never met. So the bar is no bar, right? Yeah. But we ended up doing that. We did very well. My teammate ended up hurting himself, but nevertheless, we did pretty well at that Boston.
When your teammate
location.
hurts himself, do you finish?
Yeah. Well, you could bow out, right? Yeah. But he didn't. I mean, he has very high standards also.
Yeah.
So
no, what I was saying is like if he hurt himself to a point where he had to be out.
Oh, you're
both done as a team.
You're disqualified as a team.
Okay.
Yeah. I mean, unless I want to do the whole thing by myself and he just runs.
Yeah.
That is possible, but that's hard.
Yeah.
And ironically enough, going back to the burpee broad jumps, I did the burpee broad jumps in Boston, and I was hella proud of myself because I got so much better. Yeah. And, I remember thinking like, wow, I felt good because I wasn't exhausted. And then my teammate texted me. He was like, hey, by the way, you did great on the burpee broad jumps. Like, you were killing it. And I'm like, I did, didn't I? And it was like a full circle moment for myself because I was like, I was so shit at New York.
New York, yeah.
And then Boston, I killed it a couple months later. Oh, this is great.
I mean, it could very well be the mental pressure that you put on yourself. Yeah. And when you have nothing to lose, it's just like, all right, let's go out and actually have fun.
Yeah.
And, I think that happens, I want to like kind of go also back because that's also like a community. Yeah. And like that's probably gonna be like community is probably gonna be the title of this goddamn episode, the way we're talking. But with your role with Lulu, right? And I see the events that you're doing there. I see the relationships you're building
Mm-hmm.
within the community, right? And I've done some work in Greenwich as well. It is a
Yes.
different type of animal in a sense. What are some of the things that you've learned throughout like the different communities that you've been a part of in your life that you're able to apply to the role that you're in now? And what are some challenges that you've had that you've had to work around or figure out?
Hmm.
You start with the things that you apply first, I guess.
Apply. What do you mean by apply? In what sense? Like,
Like in the sense that like you've essentially been a community builder, part of communities, seen the way they work, been the pulse of several communities as well. How has that helped you in what you're doing now? How has that helped you in what you're doing now?
So I think that when I think about sports management, a lot of people just automatically probably navigate to the idea of like contract reading and all those kind of things. Really in the sports world, I think it has to do with the relationships you build and how people just feel who
Yeah.
you are. Who you shake hands with obviously helps, but it's just there's a very genuine part of it that you have to be, right?
Yeah.
And I think when I think about the events that we hosted and the people that I've met, I think people come back because the space is genuine, right? I'm coming from a space of like care, right? I care about fitness and I care about people and I care about community. And if anyone, who meets me and who comes into our store, they know that. You could see it, you know? Or even if you speak to any of our teammates, like they'll be like, oh yeah, that is Elsie, right? And I think a lot of it has to do with being genuine.
Yeah.
Right? I'm very genuine and committed to that space of community. I think it's very important. I think we disconnect or we see a lot of like, hate and like heaviness when people are not holding hands. And in that space, you have to say, okay, what's going to bring people together?
Yeah.
Right. And I think when you have someone who is genuine in that space, people automatically just go like this. And they
Yeah.
all just gather together and they figure it out.
I love that. And I love how you talked about the importance of developing relationships and
Yeah.
having good relationships throughout the community. And that's, something obviously I do through, the events that I
he's so
do.
good at it.
And even like through the podcast and everything. And I think relationships are everything. What are some key qualities that you look for when embarking on a relationship that you feel you need to prioritize?
Alignment. I think alignment is very important. If people meaning general, aren't in line in the idea, right? Then it's difficult then it becomes like just two trains passing by. You have one idea, they have another idea, they have another idea, they have another idea. And I think alignment is a key component. Even if we talk about us here, right? We recently got back in touch, right? But if you think about what you do and if you think about what I do, we're both in essence in somewhat community. And those two things are both in alignment. And whether the outcome of what we're doing is beneficial, financially, ROI, right? Whether that is beneficial, great, fantastic. Like that is just the plus side for me personally. For me, it's more like the community side. Like
impact.
that is important to me. All right, you make the money, you make like that is like great, fantastic. Everybody wants that, right? But the other side of it is the community side, the impact it makes on other people. That part is the important part. So I think when two people or three people are in alignment with what they want, even when it comes to any of the events I do, like I'm not going to pull something out of the air just to create, right? We talk, we're in alignment, making sure it's the same thing that we both want, and it equally works for one another.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's so true, and I think there's a lot of people who I've met over the past couple of years where they talk a good game and they say they want to have the impact and they say they want to help people, but then when you remove the brass tacks, you comes to learn that really they care about just the monetary ending.
And I'm not saying that's bad.
There's nothing wrong with that.
There's nothing wrong with that. It's just for me, like that's the benefit. That's the benefit. It's not the
that's the thing I've learned. Like, as long as you focus on that impact and you focus on helping people and you focus on conveying a positive message that people can grow and learn, that other part takes care of itself.
100%.
And that's something that, I am striving to prioritize this year, where it's like providing these different spaces through, I talked to you about the purpose panels that I'm going to be rolling out this year, where I'm able to bring, these conversations to light, and hopefully to a hungry audience who is interested in learning more and connecting. And because, in-person community right now, everyone thinks they're connected because they're on social media.
Yeah.
And it's great. Yeah, maybe you are connected in a certain way, but nothing beats connecting to a group in person, because you said it in the beginning, energy matters.
Yeah.
And you can't sense energy through social media the same way you can when you're sitting in a room having a conversation with a friend or a new colleague or a new member of your community.
Yeah.
Nothing trumps that. And that's a big reason why I prioritize in-person conversations.
Yeah.
I've had several people hit me up online, wanted to do virtual, and it's like, listen, like, come to the studio. Let's sit down. Let's have a conversation. And I'm really grateful for you to have agreed to come down here. I want to close by asking a couple questions about purpose.
Okay.
And
see what we got.
What does the word purpose mean to you?
Purpose. I think for me, purpose has to do with a road that is intentional, right? It's like you want to be on this road, and everyone has goals, right? Every single person, you would hope so, right? Whatever that goal might be to you, the smallest or the biggest, right? But what is leading you to that goal, right? Your purpose and what you're doing, why you're doing it, right? A lot of my purpose is probably my little brother, right? Not saying that. So for me, that is the ROI, that is the reward, right? But everything leading up to that, I mean, all of that has been a learning experience. I've loved every single minute of it. And the purpose is his ending story. Like what story is he leaving for himself, But yeah, I think it's a road to your goal and the story that takes up until that goal.
It's like the Mamba book behind you. It's the journey, not the destination.
There you go.
What advice would you give to somebody on that journey of finding purpose?
Make sure you stay grounded. I think that's really important. Grounded in whatever way that looks like for you. I find comfort, which probably, if you're friends with me on Instagram, you see that I'm like in the summertime specifically, I'm tanning all the time.
On your hammock.
On my hammock. But honestly, you don't know how grounded that makes me feel. Like how much it feels to like just be in the sun. The grass around me is green. The trees are like in my face. That feels so good to my energy. And I think whatever makes you feel like that, that's what you should keep doing.
I love
It
that.
doesn't have to be any kind of financial thing. Like if people ask me like, oh, are you doing anything today? I'm like, yeah, I'm just tanning, but I'm going to be like under the trees, listen to my music. Like that's what makes me happy, like genuinely happy. The winter is such a struggle for me. But the summertime, I mean, that's my prime, And I think what whatever makes you grounded and reground, just remember it, right? Like remember essentially your purpose and, you know, what's going to continue to keep you on the floor.
Yeah, dude, I love that. I'm so grateful for you to come down. I am hopeful that in the upcoming month, we could potentially make an announcement of our own.
Hopeful.
You know, I'm optimistic that about that. Stay tuned, everyone. You know, thank you, Elsie, seriously, for coming down here. And I appreciate you. I have nothing but love for you, nothing but respect for you.
Oh.
And I'm just grateful for our friendship.
Thanks.
A couple shout outs, guys. I want to shout out team over here at couple shout outs, guys. I want to shout out the team here over at Kai Visions, Claudio, Justin. Y'all kill it. Folks, if you are looking for anything media oriented, you need event coverage, you need marketing material, looking to start your own podcast, don't hesitate to reach out directly to me or at Kai Visions. If you received my newsletter, there is a special offer in that newsletter. If you want me to send that over to you, shoot me over a DM or visit adamvora.com. And you could submit an email in that form as well. I want to thank the team here over at Relive the Moments, John Lim, Tina. They do NFC tap technology that you can incorporate into your events. You can incorporate it into your marketing. You can give it to clients. If you're a realtor, there's closing gifts that we can build out for you. Reach out to me to connect with John or go to at Relive the Moments on Instagram or relivethemoments.com. Guys, super grateful for everyone who has continued to support this community that we're building. I've mentioned my website a couple of times because I want you to go to it. At the end of the day, you know, I am launching the coaching business where I am trying to help really people free themselves of all the outside noise and really ground themselves this year, not only in their work and their career, but also in their relationships and in their relationship with themselves. Learn more about the coaching at www.adamvora.com. Super grateful for everyone. Like, follow, share, and until next time, folks, thank you so much. That was long.